Where are your fingers right now? You probably think you know exactly where they are without looking. It's an assumption we make every day. We use proprioception and touch to navigate, trusting our biology to provide an accurate, real-time read of the physical space we inhabit. But that biological hardware has blind spots. If you flip your tongue upside down and run your finger along its edge, you'll feel the touch on the wrong side. Your brain never needed to map an upside-down tongue, so it misplaces the physical sensation entirely. Because our biological equipment is built with these inherent limits, the direct map we experience is factually inaccurate. We are relying on compromised instruments to define what is real. Philosophers have spent thousands of years studying epistemology to figure out how we can justify what we know. Thinkers like Plato argued that for something to be known, it requires true, justified belief. Later thinkers refined this problem by drawing a hard line. Charles Sanders Peirce mapped a boundary between actual reality and the phaneron, the highly filtered, customized version of the world that only exists inside your head. You process every piece of data internally, creating the egocentric predicament, the absolute inability to verify the outside world. You are trapped behind a biological wall. No human has ever experienced objective reality directly, only an internal translation. If every experience is an internal reconstruction, we lose the ability to distinguish between a genuine external fact and a convincing imitation. By default, we are locked in a system where the input can be altered without us ever having the means to detect the change. If our real-time senses are unreliable, we have to look toward our history. We build our identities on our memories, trusting that our brains act as accurate recordings of the past. Memory relies on long-term potentiation. When neurons frequently fire together in a specific pattern, they wire together, creating a physical network in your brain. The human brain holds the digital equivalent of roughly 2.5 petabytes of information, but it doesn't store perfect video files. It stores complex relationships spread across entirely different regions of the mind. Recalling something like your first kiss requires your brain to pull the smell from one network and the physical sensation from another, stitching all those fragmented pieces together in real time. Every time you pull a memory up, you are rebuilding it. Your personal history is an organic, ever-shifting reconstruction, a subjective story rather than an objective record. This biological inability to verify the source material made us the perfect audience for a different kind of illusion. Our modern environment is built to inhabit this exact blind spot. The philosopher Jean Baudrillard called these manufactured illusions simulacra. These are copies of things that either no longer have an original or never existed in the first place. Look at the Ifugao tribe. When ethnologists arrived to study their culture, the tribe noticed they were being watched. They began exaggerating their rituals, creating a highly elaborate performance specifically for the scientists.
Those scientists documented the exaggerated performances and published them globally. Decades later, younger generations of the tribe used those exact academic texts to learn their own traditions, overwriting their authentic history with a theatrical copy. We rely so heavily on representations that historical truths are easily swapped for manufactured performances that are simpler to document and distribute. You can see this erasure of the original in any massive hypermarket. The sprawling aisles and harsh lighting create a completely artificial ecosystem designed to replace the outside world. The produce sitting on the shelves is chemically engineered to be uniform and spotless. It trains our brains to expect a simulated perfection, making real, naturally flawed nature look undesirable. Theme parks operate on the exact same logic. They are highly intensified simulations that serve a specific purpose. Their obvious fakeness convinces us that the world outside the park gates is genuine. We apply this same standard to our digital identities. We curate our social media profiles, smoothing over every flaw, until the polished representation becomes far more important than the actual person holding the phone. We willingly surrendered objective reality for a hyperreal simulation. We accept the fake copies because they deliver controlled dopamine that nature simply cannot match. If you follow this audit to its absolute endpoint, you arrive at solipsism, the philosophical stance that nothing exists outside your own mind.
Under this theory, the stars in the sky, the food on your table, and the people you love are nothing more than figments of your isolated imagination. It is a framework with very real consequences. In 2002, a woman avoided prison for murder by successfully arguing the Matrix defense, claiming she genuinely believed her crimes were part of a simulation and therefore weren't real. To avoid that void, we rely on realism. This is the belief that rocks, trees, and other people continue to exist even when you aren't around to experience them. It is healthy, convenient, and keeps society functioning. But you cannot scientifically prove realism is true. Trusting that the outside world is actually there remains a deliberate leap of faith. Recognizing this limitation doesn't have to induce panic. Instead of a prison, that boundary can be a point of acceptance. Consider a house cat walking across a glowing mechanical keyboard. The cat loves the warmth and the flashing lights, completely oblivious to the complex engineering beneath its paws. We are in the exact same position. We can interact with the mysteries of the universe and find joy in exploring them, without ever fully grasping the objective reality that powers the system. The hyperreal loop demands constant consumption, but you can find genuine depth by slowing down and reconnecting with the raw, untamed elements of nature. We will never uncover the absolute, objective truths of the universe, but accepting that absolute truth is out of reach allows us to set aside the manufactured noise and exist within the authentic, unmediated wonder of the present moment.